Will you look at yourself as head coaching material someday?
I think all of us eventually want to be considered for that. I just love to coach, so for me, I enjoy coaching and coming to work every day, whether it's as an assistant, a head coach, or even a position coach. So I'm certain Dave will get a chance someday for a head coaching job. I don't know where it will be or when, and he'll do a good job if he gets hired. I'm sure of that.
Listen, we're 1 year apart. We're both in our late 30s, early 40s. It'd be fun to work with a guy like that, and I think he's the best special teams guy in the league. O'Shea might have issue with that, but I do want to work with him again. I think we will, just a matter of when and where.
First time in CFL history the brothers would face each other, and the bragging rights go to the younger brother, Dave. A 37-10 win for Calgary here as they move to 2-1, and Saskatchewan now 1-3.
All right, I am here with 66% of the 2019 West Division playoffs. They happen to be of the same family. It is Craig and Dave Dickenson of the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Calgary Stampeders. Guys, thanks for sitting down with me.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate you being able to do this. This is an interesting dynamic that you guys have created for yourselves. A long history being in and around each other in football, in sports, all over the place. But head coaches, it's unique. You don't see a lot of it. Obviously, the Harbaugh brothers down the National Football League would be an example there. But what is it about this dynamic? Do you find it unique? Has it washed off on you over time because you've just been coaches for so long? What is it like?
Honestly, to me, it's special because David and I have always had a close relationship, and it's actually a little easier as head coaches because when he was a head coach and I was not, there would be things we'd talk about, and there'd be things that I'd ask him and want to visit about that he probably felt uncomfortable talking about. Now that we're both head coaches and kind of seeing the game and seeing our teams from similar perspectives, I think it allows us to be a little more supportive of each other, even more so than we were before.
And I remember, Dave, when you were offensive coordinator in Calgary, talking about the fact that when Chris Jones was there, you were picking his brain and otherwise back and forth and trying to understand each other. Have you picked his brain on special teams things before, currently, otherwise, the area of expertise?
I stayed in my world, kind of. I'm not a special teams guy. I wish we could work together, to be honest. You know, that's one of those things that'd be nice. We'll see who gets fired first and can hire the other guy. But no, it's nice. And, you know, you got to be a little bit careful what you say. But for the most part, we all know what we're not sharing, like, big-time secrets. And ultimately, it's fun to go out there and compete with him. What is the first memory that you have of competition with each other? Because whether it is a brother and a sister, three brothers, three sisters, any type of combination, there's always that moment where you remember, okay, this is when we really first had it out. Do you guys have that, a memory of the first time where you really thought, okay, it was sports, otherwise competition at home?
Yeah, I do. It was the Hershey, or what was it? The Elks Hoop Shoot. So it was a little basketball competition back home. And all it was a free throw contest. And he beat me, of course. I mean, I gotta be honest with you, Marshall, he beats me in almost everything athletic. So the only thing I got him at is skiing or snowboarding. But that was when I remember, and he was probably 7 or 8. I might have been 8 or 9. I'm a year ahead of him. And the only thing I remember that I was grateful for is we weren't in the same division, but I would have lost if I'd have been in his division too. So
I think the negative was we did kind of compete for the same sporting jobs at times, you know, guard in basketball, you know, we competed in the golf team. Neither one of us were even close to getting on the track team, but football, we did different positions. We were able to hook up a little bit, you know, quarterback, receiver, and then Craig found his niche on, you know, kicking. There's no way, I was not a flexible enough guy, nor did I have the patience to keep working over and over as a punter, kicker, that sort of stuff. So Craig kind of, I don't know why you did that. You just kind of went into that realm and off you went.
Found your own spot?
yeah, I found something that I could work at and get better at, and it ended up being kicking the football. And I'm glad I did it because it got me involved in special teams in high school and college football, and then allowed me to take a step into coaching in an area that not a lot of guys know a lot about.
Being driven by having a brother who is a head coach, I imagine for you as a first-year head coach, that must have been an interesting dynamic where you once in a while had to be thinking, well, you know, Dave's been doing this for a while. How does he handle these situations?
Yeah, there was. You know, the nice thing about Dave is you can kind of see what he's doing just by watching him. You know, he's very transparent. He's not, you know,
Can you see it from the other side?
Yes, you can. You can tell when he's happy or when he's frustrated, but he's just himself, and I think that's as much as as asking him how to handle certain situations. I just watched him. I watched him over the last 3 or 4 years, and he's himself, and he handles difficulties, challenges that come up the way he always would. He tackles them straight on, and he's just himself in doing it. So the cutthroat, competitive part of it is not as much actually between us as people probably think.
Make sure it's in your heart, guys, to do something special. Great job, though. Outstanding win. Appreciate it. Kicking my brother's butt. All right, there we go.
The definition of a coaching style, I think, is something that sometimes we overgeneralize, where you try to label somebody or say this is what that team is because that head coach is there. But how would you define a Dave Dickenson coached football team?
I would define his team as extremely competitive, very well prepared, and very, very knowledgeable in situational football. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever been around. There's not a lot of situations that come up during a game he hasn't thought about, hasn't gone over in his head.
I definitely have a little bit more of a quick fuse temper. Craig likes to work a little bit more of the backdoor angle. I give him a hard time. He's always kind of pats the refs on the back, and he gets a pretty good relationship with those guys. I think he gets a few more calls than I do, where I'm kind of more like trying to make sure that guy knows that I'm right, and that doesn't always play out with the referees. So I need to work on some of that and learn from the big bro.
All right, let's get a look at some of these pictures that we have from your past, guys. We promised to include only the very best, but I'll begin with this one, some family memories. We got some dogs in the picture here. Are those family dogs? What am I looking at?
Oh, jeez.
The dog is part of the family, and we've had some great dogs.
I think that came mainly from my dad. My dad loved to hunt, so I think the dogs originally were bird dogs. They would go out with him and help him hunt. He did less and less hunting, and the dogs just kept coming in. So that, I believe, is Duke and Daisy, our two dogs as kids, and this is Easter Sunday, and our Easter Sunday best there in the middle one.
Do you really believe that's Easter Sunday?
I believe it is. This is an early photo of David. See how he held the bat? You can tell he was fundamentally sound.
Who'd you pattern your batting stance after, Dave?
I like Rod Carew,
Yeah.
Which is a lefty, but he held it up just like that. We were baseball nuts. My dad's favorite sport is baseball. The clothes, certainly fashionable.
Yeah.
Think-
That's our sister, Amy.
Yep.
Amy, she's my twin, so we got 2 older ones, and then Dave came along a year and a half later, so.
Some bad haircuts.
Hey.
That's from my parents again.
I actually think my hair looks great back then.
Well, I guess we could have probably used a few more.
I'm a little envious in those days.
So it looks like a couple of hockey pictures between the two of you.
Hockey was really expensive. I mean, I know it is up in Canada, but we only had one rink, and if you ever wanted to go play somebody, you had to go to Lethbridge, you had to go to Canada.
We got trashed by the Canadians too. I bet the Canadians are proud of that.
So these are very wonderful
Look at
portraits.
you. He scared himself as a vampire.
There's an interesting story behind that.
Okay.
I wanted to be the scariest vampire ever, and so my mom, very talented lady, she did me up as scary could be, and she said, "Oh, go look at yourself in the mirror," and she did such a good job, she scared me to death. So I started crying. It was too scary, so she washed some of it off. Yeah, I wasn't the bravest kid, I don't think.
The last one came in late, but we had
Oh,
had to
yes.
include it.
I didn't even
Yeah,
play. I
that
don't even
was-
know why I showered.
That was in 2008. I was on the staff. David was still playing. And I remember David was trying to talk the staff into taking him off injured reserve for the playoffs. Henry Burris was our quarterback at the time. David was the backup.
I figured I could get about another 8 or 10 good snaps
And
if
see,
it
that's
came down to
the
it.
competitive nature, though. And so I remember Coach Huff brought us all in as a staff, and he asked us to a man, "What do you think?" All of us coaches voted leave him on 9 game, because me as his brother, I didn't want to see him take another hit. I didn't think it was worth it. David, as a football player, he wanted to contribute to the team and be part of that championship team, which he was anyways, but he just felt like he wanted to play in that game.
It's hard to watch. You want to contribute. If anyone thinks that anyone's happy over there just getting a paycheck, that's not the case. It wasn't that I felt I was any bit better than Henry, but I did think I could give the team more than the backups at that time. Trust me, I knew it was the end. I wanted to win. So I was happy because it was your first, right?
Yeah, that was first.
I was gonna say that feeling of hosting a Grey Cup with your brother is pretty unique, whether
That's
it's coach
pretty
to coach,
unique.
player to player.
Yeah, like he said, hopefully we'll get to do it together one of these days. I'm still hopeful we can do that.
Absolutely. 2 of the very best in the Canadian Football League, guys. It's been an interesting story for you thus far. Still lots left to be able to tow, but thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Marsh.